Hello, everybody, and welcome to the North American Challengers League Spring Split Week 1 Day 2 broadcast, where we have more games ahead of us today on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I'm play-by-play for the day. You can call me Kangas. I got Joshi with me over here on my left. Yeah, I pointed to the right side. Woo. And we got Rafa as our special guest for the day. Everyone, round of applause for Rafa, our LCS correspondent now on the NACL broadcast.
Stop.
Rafa, this is our first time on broadcast, so real quick, catch everybody up. How's your offseason been?
Oh, it's been pretty, not only great, but also, I had to hold all that information and news in during the entire 2 months and everything that was going on social media, and I'm just like, yep. I'm just, you know what? I can't say anything. It's okay.
Honestly,
it's okay.
Props that it didn't get leaked. I was worried because it was taking so long, and you knew like a couple months ahead of time, right? It was like 2 months or something.
Not a month.
Yeah.
About a month.
I've known. I've known since November, or right before the holidays or Thanksgiving. So
yeah.
That is crazy that it didn't get leaked out, actually.
All I remember is that Mark called me like the day of and was like, yo, Josh, I'm an LCS. And then every single day I would try and type it on Twitter, and I'd have to go look up at my window and make sure Mark wasn't looking at me through the window, but somehow he was always there.
Interesting. Wait, you weren't even roommates at that point.
No, I was in Seattle, I was in Chicago, I was in LA for the people that knew, and I was in many other locations having a hitman trained just in case you spread anything too far.
So that was the van parked outside.
Like Breaking Bad towards the end, you know, with the laser pointers.
Yeah, makes sense. Josh, you were on the show yesterday, but how was your off season? I don't know if you caught everybody up.
You know, off season was pretty good. We were just kind of hanging out. I finally, for anybody who was curious, I got pulled over in a U-Haul a couple of days ago because they didn't have a license plate. But more importantly, that U-Haul contained all of my stuff. I have a bed now, you guys.
Yeah.
In 2 days.
The caster, or Casa de Casters, is finally coming together. It's no longer going to be cursed like it has been for the last couple weeks. How's the fridge coming? Have you filled the fridge yet?
You did us so dirty, man. We had our pantry like full, or at least like half full at the time. You specifically took pictures after we had already taken all of the ingredients out. We cooked you food.
I don't know what to say. I opened the fridge and that's what I saw, so that's what I posted. But a special shout out to Lunar New Year. Happy Lunar New Year, everybody! We all got our red on to celebrate. I even went as far as to get the slippers. So there we go.
Yeah.
We're doubling
down.
We
got a lot of plaid going today.
No, it was covered.
For free?
It was covered. But if you're just tuning in right now and you're curious as to what's going on, this is the NACL. It's no longer Academy, and to explain a little bit more about that, we actually put together a handy little video to kind of walk you through the changes year over year. So let's take a look.
Welcome to the North American Challengers League. We've gone through quite a few renovations coming into 2023, but worry not, I'll be your guide. As we prepare for the next chapter of semi-pro play, why don't I give you a tour of some of the changes we have in store. The 2023 North American Challengers League will feature an expanded 16 teams that fall into one of two categories. The 10 franchise teams from last season will be known as fixed teams. Our 6 expansion teams will be known as provisional teams. These categories have implications on relegations, one of our big new changes. Only provisional teams can be relegated. We'll talk more about this in a moment. Moving on to the regular season, which consists of a single round robin where every team in the league will face off against each other in a best of 2. At the end of the regular season, all teams will be seeded into a double elimination playoffs bracket. After 3 weeks of play, we'll have a champion crowned on March 29th. This takes us to relegations. The 4 lowest placing provisional teams will compete against the top 4 from the 2 NACL qualifiers. This promotion tournament will take place on April 17th. The top 4 teams from this promotion tournament will qualify for promotion into the NACL summer. We'll have more updates on this as we get closer to the date. With more teams, games, and opportunities for promotion, I have no doubt in my mind we're in for the most exciting season of semi-pro play yet. Be sure to catch the North American Challengers League's first day on January 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you there.
Sehe Manibada. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy Lunar New Year. Also, I just gotta say, I can listen to Desert's talk for hours.
Facts.
It's just
Straight
incredible.
facts.
It's weird that we pay him to do that.
We should look into that.
Yeah,
actually.
we should figure that out.
We should hire that guy. I think he's got a bright future. But we already are into the second day of the broadcast, everybody. I know, surprise, surprise, if you're just tuning in for the first time. But that means that we had an entire day of games yesterday and an entire reaction from the community around those games. So we're going to get into some of the funnest things that the community was talking about. Keel, in particular, with an insane performance on Wildcard with the comeback of Game 1. Where they were up against like an 8-0 Zeri, and then they still brought it back. Keel, I think that this is an accurate statement, man.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked, like, watching back some of the tape from the other stream, because I was on the path to LCS, but the Challengers League, all of the provisional teams were looking hot, and that's something that we always like to see.
I think they were like 4-6. I saw Smack's tweet about that. They were 4-6 overall, which
they
is
were
not
1-5
bad
on my stream.
Well, you were the cursed one then. But moving on here, so here's Dignitas. They're getting ready for their games coming up, but that's just a adorable little picture.
They're so cute. Like XU and I believe Insanity.
David Chalman, he's so hot.
It looks good with glasses too. I like the look. But of course, this is the reference to the Keel game we were talking about, game number 1. If you follow the Immortals account, they did tweet out, not the start we wanted. And Matt had some choice words to clap back on him.
That was a banger quote tweet, if I've ever seen one. Because, it's the standard PR kind of like, not the start what we wanted, but we'll bounce back next time. And Cubby's like, I mean, you had a pretty good start of game 1. I don't know what happened. And they're just like, and the response was still classy, and it really enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was the start of the start that we wanted, but not the end of the start that we wanted.
Oh, yeah.
I can just hear Cubby's voice in my head. It's so good.
True. But at the same time, on our stream, Surdy looked absolutely dominant. Even though they only were able to get one of them, the way that Surdy took Soul to task, kind of really showing that Surdy is one of these players that is, despite being on a provisional team, one of the players that we expect being probably one of our top 5 top players in the entire league, beating Soul in the good matchup and also beating Soul in the bad matchup. So we'll see what else Jetjoy has in store for us.
And beating Soul at his replacement on his past team, which is also really cool. But Cloud9 Challenger, one of the teams that 2-0'd yesterday. This was one of the more savage tweets.
Oh, that's brutal. Oh, man.
It's so good.
I mean,
I love how Mark is the one pretending to see it for the first time when he was the one who sent it to all of us in the first place.
Ruining the BTS secrets straight of the show.
But this is the wholesome one, okay? We had the flame, now it's the wholesome one. APA's parents cheering him on in his debut games. He went 1-1, but his first game was insane. The Cassiopeia, he absolutely smashed on, so it was cool that they got to see him pop off.
And shout out to the Stearns family. They've been super supportive of APA ever since he started making his grind on the way up, pursuing through amateur, going through collegiate when he was at Maryville University, and now finally on Team Liquid Challenger. This guy's popping off.
Ooh. We should have put these all in a row. Now that I'm thinking about it, we could have just made the wild card game, the series against Immortals, like a whole bit. But this was, of course, if anybody caught it, Cubby's hairline throughout the series. Wait, here. Can we get it? Can we get it perfect? Can I get in the same position when it comes back to us? I don't know if it's going to work out. I think this is the last tweet on the lineup because we got to get moving. There we go. That's close enough. But outside of just that, in the series, it was cool because of the comeback, because of the 2-0 for wildcard. But there was also an insane pick locked in for Moose Hater. So we got to take a look at something Deserix threw together.
Bounce Zach, believe Garen up, and let's see what happens.
Prove yourself and charge! Make them remember you. Push through heaven. Charge! Here comes with emo. A thumbs up for the performance of Moose Hater.
Threw it together in like 30 minutes last night. Just real quick. He was
What
like,
a goat.
He's like, hey, Steve, should I throw something together for Moose Hater? Do you think we could get out the broadcast? And I was like, look, man,
Give Moose Hater the
You did that in
respect he
30
deserves.
minutes?
Give
Yeah,
it
that
to
would take
him.
me like 2 hours. Let's go, Eric. Eric doing
Yeah.
all kinds of cool things for us today, man.
We're leveling up the editing skills. But with that said, let's take a look at the standings from yesterday into today, so everyone's caught up on what we're getting into ahead of us. There were a couple 2-0s with Cloud9 Challenger, CLG Challenger. Expected in a way. These were challenger teams against provisional teams. But wild card, baby. They picked up their 2-0 with the insane comeback from game number 1. That's very exciting. A couple 1-1s, of course. A couple of teams that have yet to play. We'll get all of their games today. And then a few 0-2s. Unfortunate to start off your season in that fashion. But hey, it's going to happen to somebody. These are, of course, best of 2s. And we got a long season ahead of us.
Oh yeah, that's only round 1 of a 15-round round robin, so we'll get to see all of them play up against each other later on. But the big thing to remember, the teams that lost yesterday, you don't get a rematch. You got to make every single match count.
Which makes the provisional team versus provisional team matchups all the more important. In the format explainer video, we went over it that the bottom 4 provisional teams at the end of the season face relegations after the playoffs. Which means that if you have a match against another provisional team, that is so important for you to pick up a win. As we take a look at the schedule here, CLG versus FlyQuest to start things off. FlyFam, yes. Yeah, it's important to reference that. It's CLG Challenger versus FlyFam. Team Liquid Challenger versus Golden Guardians Challenger, and then FlyQuest Challenger versus AOE on our stream. On the other stream, at the LCS, there will be a provisional team matchup. I'm not remembering off the top of my head what it was, but that will be important to check out. So I'm always excited to watch those ones at the split because it feels like there's more weight behind them.
True. I mean, you got CF and CF, Cincinnati Fear, and CLG Faith going head-to-head.
There we
That'll have a big effect on the standings later in the season. And, of course, the way that Cincinnati Fear took down one of our favorites today, looking pretty good for them so far.
With that said, let's get into the games that we have today. This is the Challengers League stream, so we're going to focus on the matches ahead of us going forward here. And up first, CLG Challengers. So taking a look at their roster and running through kind of what to expect from them, because they have an easier week 1. They're up against 2 provisional teams in a row in their sister team CLG Faith, now FlyFam, and also the roster with the most returning members. Rafa, I know that this was a roster we were excited about last year. It wasn't. They were fun to watch, and they've only made one change. And
it's Copy coming in now. For all the Copy fans on, in the NACL space, there's a lot of questions about Cloud9 dropping Copy and not giving him a chance to either run it back on the Academy roster that they have completely, or the Challenger roster they've completely rebuilt for themselves, or not even promoting him up to the LCS starting spot and instead putting in Diplex. So Copy, a huge chip on his shoulder, being dropped by the org that he was with for the past 2 years, but now CLG is putting the faith in him, giving him that chance to maybe work his way up through that talent pipeline.
Yeah.
The big cover. Oh, go for it, Josh.
I was just going to say, this is now a roster that has no obvious weak links, right? Every single one of their players is going to be middle of the pack or better, is the expectation for this roster. And watching them go up against the provisional team, it wasn't super close, and it was honestly basically every single role that they were winning.
And the big highlight from day 1 has to be the bot lane for me. Meech and Breezy came out the gates swinging. They decimated the bot lane matchup, and you can just see over and over again with these long-range poke style compositions, them winning the 2v2s, and then they're able to transition it later into the game and win those as well.
Longtime amateur fans have wanted to see Meech on the semi-pro stage here in Challengers League. He got his first split in last year towards the summer. It wasn't always what we were expecting, but people have been knowing that Meech has always had what it takes, and now that they've had a solid split under the belt, this is the year where Breezy and Meech can solidify themselves potentially as one of our best bot lane duos here in Challengers League.
Breezy's been a player that was having his best split of his career in summer 2022, and now going into 2023, if that's the form he's going to be in, he's definitely going to be one of these players that we're going to be looking at to promote.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like the progression of Breezy from last year throughout the entire year was so fun to watch. This roam heavy support in the first half of the spring, always going up to Dokla in the top lane. Then he evolved into more of a lane focus support. Cool story. But now let's bring the conversation to FlyFam, the provisional team on the opposite side of the rift. They went 0-2 in their first day. Obviously not a start that you would like, but it's a start that they had. Looking at this roster also, there's a lot of newer names to this level of play, Joshi. Specifically players like Lunacia, even Blaze in the mid lane coming in, and now with a new level of competition.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like we learned a whole lot about the FlyFam yesterday, right? Because, one, we're expecting Cloud9 Challengers to be, at worst, like top 5 team in the entire Challengers League ecosystem. And FlyFam is coming in with a lot of relatively young players, including Lunacia, who had their first game ever. But we did see a couple of bright spots. Goo was being very proactive, especially in the bottom lane, looking for ganks. And Lunacia, when they got him off the tanks and actually gave him the Jax, more of the carry style that he's used to, he's able to fight Fate God almost to a standstill. So I don't want to write this team off just quite yet, but it is a team where they still have a lot to prove. And they went up against one of the best teams yesterday. Unfortunately, they're also going up against one of the best teams today.
I would have to agree. Rafa, as a jungler yourself, and also somebody who's followed, and I really liked to highlight the junglers throughout the academy last year, Goo's an interesting player because when you watch what he was doing early in the games, very focused on ganks, very focused on the bot side of the map in particular. What do you feel about Goo as a jungler coming in, especially when like you're kind of making this jump to a new level of play in the jungle role?
He's an extremely proactive player, and the first time when we saw his name pop up in the semi-pro scene was back, if you remember, XT Esports 2020 fall of 2020, and then 100 Thieves Next, the second class of 21, gave him that chance alongside others, but that spring split, it didn't show the kind of the expectations that they were going for, and he got dropped for Chad, and then Chad eventually got promoted up through the system and is now on Immortals Academy Challengers team, right? So Goo, this is a little bit of a redemption arc for him, trying to make his way back up, prove that he can compete with the best here in Challengers League.
And that's where my eyes were from the day one. Because, Joshi, like you said, we didn't learn a lot about FlyFam from their first two games. They were up against a very hard opponent. But the one player that stood out to me was Goo, particularly, and how aggressive and active he was in the early game. And it seems like they're trying to play around the bot lane, which arguably has the most experience at this level of play, too.
Yeah, I definitely think Instinct and Sword are going to be one of our better provisional bottom lanes, but this is definitely going to be a year where a lot of the bottom lanes are going to be pretty killer, and so we'll see if they're going to be able to stack up. And my heart goes out for Instinct, right? When the team around you is not doing well, it is so hard to play the AD carry role. I really hope that we get to see moments for them to shine. Other than that, don't give them bad rap. If everything's going badly, the marksman can't do much.
Shout out to, or pour one out, rather, for all the marksmen out there on the current patch. Rafa, with that said, we're getting ready for pick and ban, so we're going to bid adieu to you. Thank you for joining us for the pre-show, and we'll bring you back on between the games for halftime segments and such. So everybody wave goodbye, Rafa. Good luck at watching the games from the sidelines.
It's not a goodbye. It's a see you later.
It's a see you later. Exactly. But now me and Joshi will be hopping into pick and ban for game number 1. Joshi, I'm starting off the season as a caster.
I know, it's so exciting for you.
Instead of hosting. This is a new feeling for me. I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty great having you back. Really missed casting with you last year, but you did a great job hosting, and now we're going to talk about some 2 teams. And to already start with the expectations, CLG Challengers, again, played up against CLG Faith yesterday and kind of dunked on them pretty hard. Now FlyFam is going to be having a very similar kind of a tough time, and the place where I'm expecting the challengers to really kind of strut their stuff more than anywhere else is actually probably going to be the mid lane. We're talking about Copy as somebody that we were saying should get an LCS spot in the beginning of 2023. Now we'll see whether or not he can recreate the success that Amenez had up against Blaze yesterday.
Yeah, Amenez really showed the difference in experience level between himself and Blaze. Copy has been grinding out the academy scene for a few years now, and I don't know if we'll have the same differential, or rather the same expectation for him, but there is a potential. I think the bot lane will also play a large role because Meech Breezy were popping off. Instinct Sword, like we said, most experience. But catching up on some of the bans, it looks like a lot of range focus from the bottom half of bans, and then the Jax taken away from Lunacia, like you were saying. This player did look very competent on that pick, but it's a Lucian first pick for CLG Challengers.
honestly, the way I feel about this meta right now is I think Skoon, one of the other mid laners in the semi-pro environment, said, yeah, be careful what you ban in Champion Select, because you might let through Maokai, Varus, Caitlyn, Ryze, Syndra, and, it just goes on and on. There are so many good characters, so we're probably going to see a lot of repeats as we see the Lulu and the Maokai coming in for Gu. I like this idea for what Gu is doing. It gives him a lot of opportunities to go for these heavy gank styles, and also gives you a ton of map control with all the saplings. That said, Kevin is hovering the Evelyn, and this is a character he made a name for himself on when he was playing over at Oceania. I hope it goes through, but that's definitely not what he's been playing since he came to the North American scene.
Yeah, unlikely. They go for the Sejuani instead. But the Lucian Nami combo is coming in. Now, the Lulu is a more interesting one, because when we look at the global meta, I've been seeing a lot of the range focus on the bottom side. Obviously, with Ashe, Caitlyn banned away. It's going to be the Zeri instead. This is what Instinct played in game number 1 yesterday, and they were heavily ganking that lane. Instinct got a little bit ahead, but then they just lost kind of everywhere else on the map, so the game got away from them. But it looks like they're leaning back towards that same style.
And it's going to be a similar spot, right? You should be expecting Zeri plus almost anything to have a tough time early on in the lane. And so Instinct and Sword are mostly going to be playing this. I've been using a lot of chess terminology recently. They're playing this to draw, right? They're not going to be playing this bottom lane in order to win the early game. But that means that Meech and Breezy have to play for advantage. If they come out of this and they are even, that's a loss for the CLG challengers from the laning phase. And so we should be expecting Meech and Breezy, somebody who had so much power yesterday, to really take control of this. I'm looking at this support, as always, to start looking for those bubbles.
If you're looking at it from a chess angle, I'm going to have to bring us to a more fun game, chess boxing. And the Lucian and Nami are definitely going for the boxing rounds here rather than the chess rounds. They're looking to duke it out early and try and get their own lead in the lane. Nar, Silas banned away from FLYF's side because the top half of the map has yet to be locked in, or rather the solo lanes have yet to be locked in for CLG Challengers, so they're heavily trying to limit those annoying picks, and they go for the blind Renekton.
Interesting. Now, Renekton is something that we've been seeing quite a bit. It's a solid blind pick into basically everything, but there are a lot of things that Jenkins can play. That Nar's already been taken off the table, but, he had one of the best Aatroxes for a long time, and he's still well known for his Kennen, who has been a historical counter pick to the Renekton as well. So I feel like this is Lunacia trying to just find something that they are very comfortable on, and no. My boy, this is not fair to Lunacia. This is one of the hardest counter picks you have ever seen in Renekton. This was something that I used to drill with some of my friends. I played this matchup like 20 times, and I think I won lane like once as the Renekton. It is so hard to actually get through this, and Jenkins bring this out against the new guy? Come on, man. Don't do him like that.
Just rude, Jenkins, but also pretty Chad, so I like it. The Akali blind pick, meanwhile, for a copy in the mid lane means that at least Blaze gets that counter pick, could look for something to try and get a lead for themselves.
Yeah. This is one of his most played characters, too. Like, it's also a takeaway. Now, okay, we did see that this LeBlanc was dominating the Akali yesterday. It was the Talia, and Menace really beat up Blaze with this character before. Now it's on Blaze to try and turn the fortunes around. It's not the easiest matchup in the world, but looking across at the Fly fam, my biggest worry is they don't really have any winning lanes, right? You're going to be in a situation where you are now playing for late, you're playing to the Zeri, you're playing to get LeBlanc off early on in the game, and so it's putting a lot of pressure on Gu again in order to have a really good early game. We saw that he was able to do it yesterday. Hopefully he can recreate that success.
Yeah, now I'm seeing Gu as maybe having two options, because yesterday it was all about bot lane, trying to gank that lane, heavily influencing it early, keeping them safe, and also getting Instinct ahead. Maybe you're looking at Blaze now as that option instead, because you got double lockdown, and if you can get a LeBlanc off the ground, obviously she is pretty hard to contain, especially like the composition from CLG Challenger, Lucian, Nami, they could just get one shot by a LeBlanc hiding in a bush in the later stage of the game. So I actually don't hate if Gu pivots more towards a mid-focus style now.
Yeah, I would love to see that, right? You lock down copy, and you can't really go top lane either, right? You look at that 2v2, and, you have Sejuani getting all of the benefits of having Kled with that cha-cha-cha-cha every single time he comes in and chops down Renekton. Like, you're going to blow up in the top lane 2v2. So, Gu really only has the mid lane, like you said, and he's definitely the kind of player who can actually pull it off.
Well, it's up to FlyFab to pull it off themselves. CLG Challengers looking to go forward with a relatively easy schedule for their first weekend, hoping to end without a loss in their books. Game number 1 of our best of 2 loaded onto the Rift with CLG Challenger versus FLYF.
As they jump on
FLYF. FLYF. It's CLG Faith. I was so close.
You did such a good job.
Hard.
This is why you've been hosting for a while, but it's good to have you back again. Now, interesting couple of things coming through right now. Jenkins is, couple things. Make sure you start spamming in chat, CLGC, FLYFam, who you think will win. And also, if you want to get your tweets on the broadcast, you can do that with the hashtag NACL. If you do that and you got something you like, we can put it up and showcase how famous you are. You can point out, Mom, I'm on TV.
Yeah, please, Alk Battery, we love you, and we want you to keep tweeting. But somebody compete with Alk Battery for the most tweets featured on the broadcast, because it felt like it was a little one-sided. But right now, it's actually pretty close between CLG Challenger and FLYFam. 58 to 42%, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and as we learned from Worlds, chat is never wrong, so CLG Challengers seems to be having a pretty good start to it, and as they come into the lane, the big thing is, as Alex was pointing out, the level 1 between Zeri and Lucian is not as bad as the rest of the lane, because Lucian really relies on those spells, and you only have one of them at the first level. So, a little bit of pokey damage, and Breezy already taking a pretty good chunk. That's actually a lot better for Instinct and Sword than we would have expected otherwise. But Jenkins, on the other hand, taking full control of the top lane, leaving Kevy and Goo to their own devices.
So that means Kevy with a leashless start on the top half. Same with Goo. Both pathing bot side, I would expect. Oh, actually, Goo's heading down there earlier. And Kevy staying top side, going for a full clear style instead. And I think Goo's going to be spotted. Yeah, there was a ward over that. So CLG Challenger should know that Goo's around here. Meanwhile, Meech and Breezy, they've been winning these trades. They're actually, have better health bars than their opponents.
Yeah. So, trade actually coming in from Lunacia, already getting Jenkins off the little Scarl. That's actually a pretty big win coming through from Lunacia.
Jenkins got to be careful. Okay, he gets a remount.
Yeah, this is the dangerous part, right?
In trouble.
Once you get the remount, it's generally pretty tough. But I love the fact that Lunacia took control of the wave earlier and tried not to take too much damage, because Jenkins, it's very hard to kill the Kled early on. The remount really makes it dangerous. But at the same time, Steve, we really got to look at what Goo is doing, right? Knowing that they were spotted out and seeing that the lane from Sword Instinct was already pushed underneath the turret, he's already pivoting back up towards the top side. He's done Gromp and then Wolves, and that's going to put him in a really kind of odd spot, and we'll have to ask if CLG will be able to adapt to that, because Kevy and Goo will be on opposite sides of the map.
And Instinct and Sword need to realize this. Maybe play careful. Yeah, they're actually going for a back already. Kevy will be spotted now on a ward that Blaze drops over the Raptor pit. But Instinct goes for a very early back because they know it's pushing in. At the time, they didn't know where Kevy was. They could assume that he could be pathing bot side. They didn't have their jungler. So yeah. I like the safe play so far from FLYFam. It's just going to come down to where does Goo want to go first, because right now his options on the top half of the map are limited. They're both shoved in.
It's going to be interesting. I'm honestly very proud of the fact that FLYFam are doing well in their lanes so far, right? These are supposed to be relatively tough lanes to actually play up, but here's the all-in.
You had to say it, Yoshi. The caster curse coming in as Jenkins tries to take the 1v1, has a minion wave to worry about, so Lunacia feeling good. But hey, look who's here on the top half of the map. Goo decides, all right, Jenkins traded heavily. Lunacia has a wave pushing in onto him. Jenkins goes for the all-in. Can Goo make it in time? Jenkins has flash.
That's a big wave.
Use it to get away from this. Goo flashing forward, just wants to commit, follows forward. Lunacia gonna get the kill.
The minion.
Oh, Jenkins thought the minions might have it, but first blood to Goo.
Ooh, Jenkins going down to Goo and Lunacia. We were saying that 2v2 wasn't winning, but it doesn't matter when it's a 1v2. Jenkins too far forward and ultimately going down. FLYFam striking back right off the bat. This is a huge win for them, and of course, at the same time, their bottom lane's doing fine, their mid lane's doing fine. FLYFam is really showing up to play today.
Breezy has to use the heal summoner spell. Heavily loses that trade there. So top half feels fantastic with Goo picking up that kill. Let's get a replay of that. Jenkins, again, I mean,
just goes forward.
Could have guessed Goo was on the top half of the map.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where you kind of have to start asking, when is Goo going to be showing up towards the top lane, right? You saw that he did the blue buff, and now Goo's going bot lane.
Goo has been so active in day 1, and again in day 2, picking up a second kill. on to the support this time around. Meech trying to trade one back. Sword will claim that one as Instinct cries in the corner. But hey, teamwork kills for FLYF feels pretty good. Lunacia still has flash under the turret. Kevy tanking, and Jenkins gets that one.
I mean, it's a consolation prize for CLG, but the way that FLYF have come to play today, they take the brand new rookie, somebody that we barely knew, and they already get to kill top lane, but Blaze looking for a fight.
Ooh, good damage with the double chain on the copy. Kevy's here. They got the double melee. Blaze flashing. He wants it. Kevy shuts him down.
All right, we've been seeing this quite a bit. People going a little bit too far forward, not respecting where the junglers can be. This time it's Kevy who comes out ahead, and it's still a good spot for FlyQuest. But man, this is a bloody early game. We're already at a kill per minute. This is not what we were expecting between the challengers and the fam to come out swinging like this. And I gotta say, Steve, I love it already.
Hey, I mean, Goose had ganks cross map. A gank top lane, a gank bot lane before 5.5 minutes. Let's get a replay of the gank bot lane, because CLG, they pushed in.
Honestly, this is very reminiscent of something that Mir did yesterday, right? We saw Mir come down for the bottom lane gank, and then he goes to gank on the top side almost immediately. Goo doing the exact same thing, skipping over a couple of camps, and this is something that I think is going to typify the way that FlyFam is going to be playing for the rest of the season. He loves to go for these ganks, he loves to go for all of these fights, and when you find these opportunities up against teams that don't normally do that, I think Chad might be the only player who would go for these kind of things in the academy scene last year, and Challengers is already an entirely different beast.
Oh, and Kevy, speaking of active junglers, goes from the gank top lane, immediately roaming mid. Blaze thought he had a window there to take the 1v1, but Kevy was a little quicker than Blaze expecting. Now back to live. We have the same situation here. CLG have pushed in, but now they have a control ward, so they will see it Goo's approach.
Yeah. Goo has no cams, right? Goo can just spend time looking for this kind of thing, and
might still
lots
get
of damage.
Yeah, Sword and Instinct are taking damage, but Meech, the only one with the flash. Bubble misses. That slow will land. Meech in trouble. Breezy's the focus. Says, all right, I'll just give my life. Instinct wants the kill so bad, and they give it to him this time. All right, 80 carries. Make sure you toss a coin to him every now and then. Kevy, rush. Hits 6. That's actually really dangerous now for Kevy.
That's wild. The way that Instinct and Sword have played this was a lane that they were supposed to be down, going up against Meech and Breezy, who were looking so strong yesterday, so strong in summer. And Instinct, Sword, with the help of Goo, they have a CS lead. They have 3 kills that they've already participated in, and that's going to be a huge win as they try and go through, and we've already seen what Zerius can do in LPL and LCK.
As Jenkins trades onto Lunacia, I have to echo that sentiment, especially because of how yesterday went with Meech and Breezy stomping their lane. They moved, I mean, obviously it was one game. It was against one opponent, but they were looking like early front runners for best bot lane, or at least top bot lane in the league, just based on that 1-2 games that we saw. Struggling in the 2v2, or rather the 2v3, because of how active Goo has been, but they could still maybe try and turn it back around. Let's see what Meech gets with this back here. Already has a serrated Dirk.
Yeah,
okay,
no surprise, Noon Quiver. I mean, that's the big thing, right? Meech opted into the serrated Dirk. He's really saying, hey, we need to win the lane early. We are supposed to be the better bottom lane. If Goo would only leave us alone, we would be having a big fight here, but instead, we're going to be focusing on the top half of the map, and unlike a lot of the Challengers teams that we've seen, we're seeing that CLG Challengers is going to be spending no time with their support up in the top half, instead just controlling the mid lane so that you can very quickly get back towards the bottom side.
Creative objectives here with Herald focus for CLG Challenger. Dragon for FlyFam. Now what does Kevy want to do with this? I mean, do they go for a dive? Blaze is low. Oh, Blaze just went in. He doesn't have
W.
Oh, the Glacial Prism barely whiffing. That would have been a kill if that landed.
Yeah. Honestly surprised he didn't just come over the wall. Here's Meech.
Oh, this is dangerous. Okay, ult popped from both Instinct and Sword. If they just wait out the Zeri and the Lulu ultimates, then Meech and Breezy are in a really good spot here. Breezy should hit level 6. Yep, there we go. They're just going for it. Sword tanking the culling. And CLG do not want to all in the bot lane.
A bit surprised there. Breezy hit level 6, but still has the ultimate. Looking for it now.
Yeah, they could look. Instinct has flash, does not use it, just dashes to the side. And Breezy Meech, they can't find the kill. They didn't have the killer instinct. Even when they saw Goo mid lane, he was spotted, so communication was open that jungler's not there. They didn't feel confident enough to go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. This is definitely a spot where I feel like Breezy is not showing us the kind of play that we were expecting from him, right? Based on how he was playing in summer and playing yesterday, he was looking good. He was looking like a playmaker, but he's feeling very gun-shy today. And I think that's something to do with the fact that they don't know where Goo is, right? If Goo was there, that could be a situation where this play that looks good could have been disastrous. And so, I kind of understand why they're not playing, but I also want to see the Breezy that we were asking for.
Well, again, when we see Goo mid lane, right? Like, Copy can communicate Maokai's on the wave, but yeah, you know what? They'll have other opportunities to try and bring it back, or at least that's the hope. Maybe not if Goo has anything to say about it, because he's looking to make something happen mid lane. Blaze goes in. Goo's even got Sword behind him. Okay, no play to be had.
Nothing.
Copy gets away.
Nothing. And slowly, we are seeing the Challengers bring back the gold deficit despite being down 2 kills. They're only down 1 kill worth of gold. So something is going right for these guys right now. And ultimately, one of the big differences that we oftentimes see between the Challengers teams and the Provisional teams is, as we see this fight,
1v1 of junglers.
Yeah, just going to be going away. But it's about the map difference, right? We've seen a number of Challengers teams be so much better at moving around the map and having more control that way. Because realistically, they're not always that much mechanically better than the Provisional teams. And I think we're definitely seeing that even that first expectation has already been upset.
I mean, when we talk about mechanics, Instinct and Sword are definitely hanging with Meech and Breezy. I feel like that was the one that we expected. Sword and Instinct have both had the academy level of play before. They've been at this level. Even Instinct at higher levels in the past. Going back to this jungle, aggressive invade right now. He has Copy to back him up. I'm curious what's going to happen up there. Bubble lands there onto Instinct. Locked down. Ult popped. Polymorph onto Meech. Cleanses it. Instinct's going forward, but look at Jenkins with the roam down bot lane. Oh, Sword! He takes the 1v1. Instinct might even trade onto Breezy. Jenkins barely takes him down, but Sword with the killer instinct at least makes it a 1-for-2.
Dude, I love that play coming out from Jenkins, recognizing, hey, the top side of the map is going fine at this point. Let's get the rotation down. Let's bail out the bottom lane. And now look at this. Copy going to be making sure they don't lose any waves anywhere on the map. Teleports up towards the top side. And so far, CLG are striking back hard. I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing. They're going to take this entire bottom lane turret despite being down in kills. This is the thing that we're starting to expect from the Challengers teams. They're going to be outplaying you on the map because they're beating you with experience.
Yeah, very smart rotations as Jenkins goes bot with the ult, teleport from Copy top, and immediately Meech, even though he died, goes to the mid lane. They're not losing waves. And, I mean, we can even go back to all those previous ganks Skew was getting off bot lane. It was always because Meech and Breezy were under the turret tanking, or rather taking away some of those plates. It was low enough that the Herald takes the first turret. Let's get another look at this Jenkins with the committal to this bot lane play.
Yeah, this is the go button that we were expecting to see coming out from Breezy. Unfortunately, Jenkins a little bit of a miss angle here, going right on past them, just watching them go by, allows Sword to trade out Meech on the other side of the fight. But even just being here, turning this from a potential 1-for-1 into a 2-for-1 and getting the turret is the kind of thing that we're expecting from Jenkins. He's not always the strongest laner, but he is absolutely going to create so much pressure on the map with his playmaking later on, and this is just a taste of it.
Shout out to Instinct, though, for almost making it a 2v2. Very close to getting Breezy right there. But as we get back to live, Dragon is the next setup, 25 seconds. And with the bot lane turret taken, and now a calling onto Sword, heavily chunked out. This is pretty good for CLG Challenger. They have a lot of control around this objective.
Yeah, great stuff already. They are moving in force. We're seeing Lunacia teleport down towards the bottom lane, but Blaze recently used the teleport as well to get onto the map. The only question is Copy going to stick around to actually go for this fight? Do they want the fight, or do they just want the dragon? It looks like Copy's got the wrap on Blaze.
The 5v5 right now. Copy's got to be careful. Walks right into the brush, trades a little bit of damage onto Blaze. Now Goo throwing out the ultimate. They're locking down Jenkins. He has the Scarl. Dismount. Nami
Copy.
CC in. Copy onto the back line, looking at Blaze. Blaze gets to safety. FLYF are in a weird position right now, and Jenkins is back and has the teleport. FLYF are walking away. You don't need to throw the game for a second dragon, and it looks like they're just going to give it up.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, I'm more impressed with the way that FlyFam is playing this than what we were expecting going into this, right? They hold CLG Challengers there. They go for a fight. There are opportunities for them to try and do something, but none of them pan out, and then they have the discipline to leave? That's something that I have to give them a lot of props for early on, and I feel as though watching the way that they are moving around the map as a team is actually a lot better than we were expecting. But Lunacia...
Oh, has Flash. There we go. Flash plus the slice.
He at least get the Gromp. Yeah, he did.
I think
okay,
he did.
At
I
least
believe
he got
did.
the Gromp.
Yeah.
You know, you're trading Flash for 100 gold. Usually not something I do, but hey, you get something for it instead of just having to Flash at all. But now on the other side of the map, when we saw CLG Challengers playing yesterday up against the Faith, Kevy got basically every neutral objective because all of his lanes were winning. Now, he's still doing it all alone, and I'm a little bit surprised that FlyFam aren't going to be asking the questions like, hey, are you really allowed to do that? Instead, they're going to be taking a little bit more control in the mid lane and trying to give Instinct a little bit more time to farm up as Jenkins finds Goo.
Yeah, this is big. Jenkins can 1v1 the Maokai right now. And Sword will pop the Shrelia, say, get out of there, jungler. You're safe. But Kevy successfully takes the Rift Herald. Blaze. Ooh, Kevy takes it, so Copy gets the back off. That's pretty cute.
That's something that we know Kevy has always been good at, right? To a fault, he is here to play for the rest of his team in there, just taking the little bit of damage and make sure that Copy doesn't lose the tempo. So, Steve, kind of taking stock of where we are in this game and the expectations that we had, we said that if Instinct and Sword are able to find a draw from the early game, that's a huge win. They're doing better than that, right? The top lane where we were saying that Jenkins is supposed to blow open this matchup with the Kled, you know, he's doing well, but it's not as though the top lane has decided the game either. FlyFam, at this point in the game yesterday, I mean, the game was almost over, right? This is a huge growth from this team in only a single day.
The fact that their composition, like, the team fighting members are doing well. It's Goo, it's Instinct, it's Sword, all of them with decent gold in their pocket. And actually, if the observers could take a look at that, I'm curious where the gold stands differential, because I think Blaze and Lunacia are going to be the most behind their lane opponents. Even then, Lunacia is not too bad because of all the CS. Yeah, 900 behind, mid lane about 1,000 behind. But then you look at the rest of the map, that ain't too bad for FlyFam as we're entering the mid game.
Also, quick shout out to our observers as well. We have Two Hands and V-Flight on deck for you guys, bringing you guys all the action. Let's give them a quick round of applause as well. They've been doing a great job for us last year, and now we're looking at Goo.
Goo! A little caught out right now. Sword's backing him up. Goo will live. A tanky tree. That's a lot of ults blown on both sides, actually, but he survives.
Good polymorph coming out from Sword, making sure that Goo is actually able to survive. Blaze! Wow, damage.
Copy. Definitely won that trade.
Definitely won that trade, and it might be enough to actually win them the turret. Blaze's teleport is going to be coming up. That's a big commitment with a dragon spawning in about 2 minutes. He will not have it. And now Kevy checking around and sees, like, is anybody here? Doesn't look like it. Maybe a Rift Herald is the answer here. You could potentially even have taken 2 turrets, but instead, going to be backing away. Don't need to take more than you need. Just showing his face, make sure that the turret will go down.
One of those moments where the jungler is like, is LeBlanc still here? Is it possible to still go for the dive before Blaze backs? Blaze did get back, but holding the teleport right now. Copy should get the turret on their own. Blaze, meanwhile, will spot out Kevy. Trying to get the red buff. Kevy successfully steals it, gives the thumbs up, and portals away.
Portals away, and Copy still with all that time will be picking up the top lane turret. I mean, the way that CLG Challengers have kind of slowed down this mid game, not necessarily the way that I was expecting them to find their advantage, but they still found themselves a gold lead again despite being down in kills. And look at this, almost all of their members are backing with about a minute left before the dragon. Great timer, make sure you spend as much gold as you can before the upcoming fight. And FlyQuest, the one thing that they have going for them is the fact that Goo can start throwing down his children and actually finding out where CLG are.
That's the nice thing about the Maokai, is the approach to these neutrals. So much safer if you don't already have vision control. Copy got the first back off top lane. I was focusing on that to see which mid laner will get the back off first. Copy will walk all the way to the objective. I feel like Blaze might have to teleport at this point and does immediately trigger it. Will get the teleport before the Rift Herald charges, so FLYF, they're ready for the fight for the dragon. It seems like that's what they want to do.
Ooh, Blaze, that's his W. Does Kevy look for something? No, he doesn't. But as you were calling out before, that's some good damage there onto Meech and Breezy. But Kevy, unclear if he's going to be caught out or in a great spot.
I think that he's fine, tanky enough on the Sejuani, and had an escape path right there. But Meech can heal up a little bit. Breezy, slightly chunked. I like that look from Blaze. As a LeBlanc player, that's something that we look at is how creative are you with your approach.
Goo.
Now Goo over the
No
wall
flash.
here. Teams behind him, and a lot of damage onto CLG actually. Goo taking up the full pulling. Barely alive, but Sword held the wild growth. It's going to be up to Instinct and Lunacia now. If Lunacia is the one that can make space, Instinct can put a lot of damage down. Okay, look at this flank from Jenkins right now. The one-man show, but everyone from FLYF, they're collapsing. Teleport from Copy to back up the top laner, and now it's Blaze that's actually caught out. Kevy jumps over the LeBlanc. Slippery. Hard to get on top of. A strange fight that didn't even really turn into a fight. It was just a little ring around the rosy there.
But again, it's going to be CLG Challengers coming out on top. We were giving FlyQuest a lot of props for backing up earlier, having the discipline to do that. This one a little bit more scattered, right? You saw Blaze kind of getting caught out, Kevy a little caught out, Jenkins. I mean, that was wild, man. He didn't have, like, basically any vision going over that wall behind the entire team. It was kind of a really good for him that the team wasn't close enough to actually just jump on him immediately. A little bit surprised at some of the risks that the Challengers are taking at this point in the game, but they are still finding a lead. They got another dragon for themselves, and Copy creating more pressure on the top side.
Personally, I love it. I mean, those are the kinds of plays where, like, if it works out, oh, that's going in your highlight reel for sure. You know that we're making content about that one.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are the memorable ones. And even though it didn't really turn into much, it got them the dragon. It distracted FLYF, pulled them away from the river. And now, CLG with 2 in their pocket, closer to that soul point.
Oh,
but
Blaze.
currently on live, Blaze in the top lane, all alone, has to flash. Kevy could have locked down that LeBlanc. And they're just pushing these waves and trying to deny as much gold as possible from FLYF.
Yeah, I mean, Kevy didn't have ultimate there, so it would have been a little bit difficult to actually find that kill, but getting Blaze's flash is a pretty big deal, right? Because now it means that if Blaze goes forward, he doesn't really have a way out, right? You use your aggressive spell in the same way that you use it to get out, but the player that I'm really starting to pay a bit more attention to, right? Goo got them through the early game, and now he's passing the baton over to Instinct. Instinct is now going to rapidly become the most important character on the map. And relatively quiet, right? It's been mostly Goo and Sword helping him out to give him those kills, even spoon-feeding him one of them earlier. Now, he's got to make up for it, right? He's got to pay them back. This is the investment that they put into the game. And Instinct has been one of the best marksmen in terms of staying safe during these fights and maximizing damage in plays that already look good.
In their last games yesterday, FLYF had Instinct off to a good start, but then their solo lanes were too far behind. Goo also fell too far behind for it to really matter. The Instinct couldn't really show up in the late game because, like we've said a few times, nobody could make space for the AD carry. That is not the case now. Instinct with 2 items here, as Baron is now on the table. They could look to start fighting, especially the later this game goes. It's only going to get better for him.
And that's one of the things that the Maokai is creating a lot of opportunities for, right? The amount of map control that this Maokai just provides. You throw down these little seeds and you just say, hey, if you go here, we're going to know about it. Also, how would you like 200 damage to the face for what feels like no reason? He's already got the Demonic Embrace. He's taking control, and now, ooh, his sandwich is coming through.
Okay, Goo flashes over onto Meech, but the instant cleanse, he still gets rooted by the wild growth as now Breezy is the focus. Instinct grabs the kill onto that one from range, but now look at the flank, a pincer maneuver. 4 points the FLYF need to worry about. They choose to go out to Copy, but now Jenkins onto the back line, gets onto Goo. Jenkins going forward with Copy on top. They're chasing right through him, and Copy with the perfect execution gets the damage, but Lunacia making that space for Instinct. The Zeri keeping them in the fight, doing the damage they need. A double to Lunacia. Meech in full retreat now as CLG Challenger. It fell apart around them. I don't even know if Meech escapes this one. Lunacia with the stun, the shutdown, and an unofficial triple kill. That was a beautiful team fight from FlyFam.
It was looking so good for CLG, but the brand new rookie Lunasia comes through. He holds the line. He creates space for Instinct, and CLG end up crumbling on the backside. They had a lead going through. They were a bunch of characters that could look for some of these big fights, but it is FlyFam fighting back, and now with only a minute left to the next dragon, Instinct's going to be pretty much entirely online, coming out with nearly 3 completed items. They get the third one before this dragon comes through. That should be everything the FlyFam need to actually carry through. The fact that so many cooldowns were used on Goo and Lunasia just gives him the freedom to do whatever he wants.
If CLG cannot kill Instinct quickly in these fights, he will out DPS the rest of CLG, especially if that third item comes online before the next big fight. And I know that CLG Challenger will be thinking about that. Instinct's that player. I mean, this guy's got an LCS experience. Like, he was one of those call-ups when TSM was experimenting with a lot of the roster changes in the summer, and now getting very aggressive here onto Meech. Doesn't actually get the damage that he was hoping to onto this Lucian, so chunked him out, though. Maybe that will be enough as they walk towards the dragon. 20 seconds until this one spawns.
Look at Jenkins. Look at where his positioning is relative to the map, right? He's not giving the rest of his team a speed boost and doesn't have teleport to join them, but he does have a crazy engage ultimate, and they're looking for Lunasia.
Okay, Kevy going forward. Now Blaze trading some damage back. Jenkins will have access onto Instinct, but we just saw them fighting each other, and honestly, Instinct was doing just fine. I think Instinct at this point with the shield bow could just kite out Jenkins and kill the Kled before Kled's able to take them down, especially if you got that Lulu on you. So I don't even know if I love Jenkins' positioning right now. He can't really do much. Blaze is now tagging him, saying, get away from my AD carry. But because of that FlyFam, they've lost access to the dragon. They're going to have to walk themselves in as Copy and Jenkins are just causing havoc on the backline. So FlyFam, they say, let's go on to the Assassins. Jump on the Copy. The Akali doesn't have the smoke screen anymore. I think they give up the objective. Maybe get the kill. Copy's out, though. Teleport used. Can Copy make the great escape? The team's coming forward, but Blaze says, nope, that's a shutdown for me. I'll take the gold. CLG Challengers on Soul Point. The FlyFam get a little more gold in their pocket.
Yeah, this game, these fights have been so odd today, Steve, right? And the big question for this teleport, whether or not it was worth it, is if FlyQuest can actually get a good fight or pick up this Baron. But CLG knows that's happening. Are they going to come through? It's not the easiest thing in the world to fight this 4v5 without your backline threat.
If Copy's communicating, he's saying that Blaze teleported bot lane, will not be there for the fight. It's a 4v4 FlyFam. They go in breezy with a beautiful tide to kill for the entire team. Now Jenkins trying to frontline here. Kevy just leaving him out to dry, and Jenkins goes down because Blaze joined the fight with the Hex Gate. So they stop the Baron take, but they will lose their top laner.
Oh,
maybe more.
From Meech? Nice!
Flash forward, instant cleanse from Meech. That was incredible. FlyFam, they didn't all commit for it, and now Copy teleported back into mid lane. They want the fight now. CLG Challenger punishing FlyFam for overcommitting after the Baron take. But Blaze! That was a lot of damage that Meech was not expecting. Sword might be in trouble. Can Copy get on top of him? Oh, the backflip over the wall did not quite work. That's a thick part of the wall right there. I don't know if CLG get Baron, so at the end of the day, just a couple scraps in a row.
Yeah, wow, back and forth and back and forth. The amount of damage that Blaze is doing at this point is absolutely nuts. The fact that he takes Jenkins down before this remount really is what determines so much of this fight. And then the amount of damage he just does to kill Meech on the backside. But we're seeing here, right, the turn off from the Baron from FlyFam. They think that they can kill Jenkins, and if Blaze isn't here, Jenkins remounts. Look at that. He is so close, and suddenly that's the opportunity for CLG to continue the fight. On the other hand, you know, you trade out one solo laner, you get the other one. Meech here with the instant cleanse, getting enough distance. Make sure that they can actually pick up Goo, because nobody can keep up with it. But even with all this, remember, Blaze was instrumental in the first kill from this fight. He's instrumental for FlyFam's second kill as well. Watch where Meech just goes, and it is absolutely going home.
That was disgusting. I mean, hey, they still get Blaze at the end of the day. We don't need to watch this part. No, why'd they do him? Why'd they do him like that?
That's our job. We're supposed to be the ones blaming the players, not the observers. Come on, man.
Come on. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The rest of the play was still all right for CLG Challengers as they are slightly up in gold, still on that soul point. We have a 1v1 now in the bottom lane between the top laners.
Oh.
But we're bringing attention to
Meech.
instead. Oh no! Meech just deleted under the turret, and now even the turret's gone, so Kevy could be in trouble here. Breezy uses the summoner spell heal. Has some peel to keep the jungler alive. Lunacia in the 1v1 against Jenkins has the ultimate pop dominance, but you are not winning this one. Kled, what was it, 19 out of 20 times? Something, Joshi?
Yeah,
that was just one of those 19.
Yeah, weird how that works, right? The 95% are coming through, but at the same time, I mean, we have to give props to FLYF for punishing Meech, but we also have to ask Meech, like, what were you doing? You dash forward, you instantly get polymorphed. Where's the damage going to be coming from? You're an auto-attack champion. We can't be making these kind of mistakes, especially on a character that is going to really need to have some of the impact with the culling first. So the fact that Jenkins finds the 1v1 on the far side is a saving grace for CLG, but Steve, this next fight will probably determine the game, right? In 70 seconds, we have the Hextech Soul coming through, and that is still one of the strongest souls in the game. The extra attack speed, cooldowns, as well as just the slow that you get on everything that you throw out is absolutely massive. CLG has been so touch and go, and they've been playing the map a little bit better, pulling and prying FlyFam away from the dragon. FlyFam can't afford to let that happen. We are going to get a fight, and it is probably going to decide who wins.
And it's usually been Copy and Jenkins tag teaming that. They just cause chaos for FlyFam. And FlyFam's like, well, our comp, like, Lunacia can't 1v1 the Jenkins, so you can't really have him tagging. Blaze is struggling to stick on the Akali. So as long as CLG Challenger keep this split push style and just pulling them around the map, it's looking good. CLG even tweeting about their own team, their own players, saying, Copy here to clean it up. Could be the story of game number 1.
Yeah, but look at where Jenkins is, right? They are on the other side of the map. They do have the teleport available, but that means they will have to use it if they want to go for this fight. And it almost feels as though, Instinct just goes.
Yeah, this is
Blaze!
bad. Blaze just says, now I see you, now I don't. You're dead, Breezy, with a double kill. Kevy out as well, but CLG Challenger, they're taking the fight. This is absolute insanity. Copy goes in. Jenkins there as well. Copy on the Blaze! Gets the shutdown. Now it's all Instinct. Can they take down the AD carry? Has sword to keep him alive. Jenkins with the remount, but Lunacia and Goo are making that space. And Instinct is still alive. Jenkins with the 4-champ core drinker. Healed a lot, but is taking out a valiant attempt from CLG Challengers to take the 3v5, but they will not get this Dragon Soul.
They won't get the soul. Copy teleporting up towards the top lane, trying to get this inhibitor turret. The game still a little bit closer in the balance, but the big thing, did you see how far forward Instinct was going in that? He was the one leading the charge for the team. He's got the Lulu in his back pocket. He's got a ton of crowd control next to him. Blaze just punches through, and despite the fact that Copy's nearly 100 CS ahead, Blaze is still able to blow up all of the relevant targets. FlyFam keep themselves in, but now they have to be fighting from an advantage position, right? They're going to be the ones dictating all of these fights because of how strong Instinct and Goo have become. Watch how, again, Instinct is the one who leads the charge here. He just goes over the wall and is like, hey, I got to slow, and you got no HP left.
And then Blaze following up for all the damage. What's crazy is that CLG Challenger even go for this play. Copy following up Jenkins. Copy, the one member added to this roster. 4-1, 4 items completed, 6 stacks on Darksteel, and even after the play, teleported top, got a turret, went mid, got a turret. Copy is making it work for CLG Challenger right now, and is really leading the charge for this roster in this game.
Scary. Okay,
Aaron
it is
looks
now
like the name of the game.
Yeah, it is now less scary, right? You lose so much map control again, playing up against the Maokai, and when you have no vision of the Baron and knowing that every bush you walk through, there's going to be a sapling inside. Okay, Jenkins looking for Blaze.
Sees him, and I don't know if you're going to catch the LeBlanc. Ooh! Actually snaps right on back, gets flash out of Blaze. That was pretty cute.
Okay, that was pretty funny. I do like that interaction coming through from Jenkins. Do lock on. They will get the flash, but that doesn't take away any of LeBlanc's damage, right? LeBlanc can still do the same thing that they've done to Meech a couple of times so far this game. Now, pivoting towards the top side, I'm a little bit surprised at how gun-shy FlyFam have kind of been around this objective, right? They turned off the first time. They started hitting it about 5 minutes ago, and they turned away. I feel like they're definitely strong enough to just force CLG to come towards them, and now that everything's up... Oh,
This
Kevy.
is bold from Kevy. He thought maybe he could get onto Instinct. Jenkins is there as well, but Instinct has the Bloodthirster. Look at that gigantic shield sword. Has not even wild growth. Instinct is frontlining. Instinct is literally frontlining right now on the Zeri. And they just destroy the damage dealers of CLG Challenger. Oh, this Zeri is disgusting right now.
Yeah. We said don't go too hard at Instinct. Now we got to start giving him some props, right? This was a team that was collapsing yesterday. This is a team that was struggling to do anything. Going up against one of the teams was, yeah, we can probably write this one off. We're looking at CLG Challengers, probably an easy 2-0, easy 4-0 in their first week. But FlyFam, they pick up the bear, and they've got this scaling, frontlining Zeri, and let's be real, King, is there is nothing that CLG Challengers has left to actually deal with it. And the way that they've been taking some of these fights with a little bit of a mishmash, it's been a lot of 3v5s, 3v4s, people coming in at different angles and not playing together, is not playing to the strengths that the Challenger teams have been known for, and FlyFam is taking full advantage.
That moment in particular felt like a little bit of, second half of Summer Kevy, where he came in, he was really hot off the bat, but then there would be moments in mid to late game where it felt like he just wasn't on the same page with the team there.
Yeah.
Going in onto Instinct, like you said, the team wasn't all around him. Kevy gets out, but the team is what's punished afterwards. And Instinct, I was saying it before, he's got that LCS experience. He was brought up, very, rough situation for him on his first couple LCS games. But we know that this is a player that if he is given the tools to carry, he can carry a game. And we're now starting to see that carry Instinct.
I have to think back to when I first started learning about Instinct. He was going by Asilian at the time, played for the 100 Thieves Next project, and it was actually Prussian, who's I believe a CLG analyst right now, was just making videos on players that he was excited about, and Asilian was the first one that he did, and we could see years later that he's still a player to be excited about.
Seems like this is CLG's game plan right now because they don't want to fight said player in Instinct. Instead, split the map. Jenkins top lane on the inhibitor. And they actually hold off FlyFam's push with this Baron. So props to CLG. They're utilizing the strength of Jenkins in the side lane. Now FlyFam, they say, all right, well, we're just going to force the issue here. Instinct's still going forward, still frontline. He pops the ultimate. Instinct is just doing it all himself. I say that as Sword, of course, is behind him. Shout out to all the Enchanter supports out there. But Copy, meanwhile, 1v1ing Blaze in the mid lane. Goo tanking up the turret. Gets onto Copy. He can tank for so long. Instinct now looks his eyes onto the Assassin. Sword pops a wild growth on himself. That's actually pretty impactful here because Jenkins has joined the fight. We have a 5v5 with no Lulu ultimate for the Zeri.
Dragon in 5 seconds.
There's no avenue for CLG in. They can't get on top of the AD carry.
They have no ultimates. They have no easy crowd control. And like you said, even though Instinct doesn't have his ultimate available, he's still got that dash away. He's still got a very powerful front line. That's going to be another drag. No, Kevy steals it!
Oh! Kevy! That
Jenkins
was what they needed. Jenkins took the portal through. Maybe they can get onto Instinct now. Very low man on this area. This is the best shot that CLG are going to get at that fight. They took down the support. There's no enchanter for Instinct. He's got no mana left and no team left either. A double kill to Copy. The solo laners for CLG do it again. Kevy with the steal. Copy with the triple kill. Jenkins flanking and winning them a game. CLG Challengers from the jaws of what seemed like defeat in the team fights pull it off and will take game one.
Blaze trying to go for a backdoor, but there's no way. He is not fast enough against all 5 members of CLG. Kevy got the steal yesterday to get them the extra dragon they needed. Today he steals the Hex Tech Soul. They instantly find the fight with no ultimates at all. And CLG Challengers, as you said, a brilliant ending of the game coming out from them. This game was nothing like I expected, but it was so much better than the book.
What a crazy roller coaster right there. I thought Instinct was going to do it. I was like, okay, this is a 4-item about to be 5-item Zeri. I think it was building to a Spirit Visage, if I was correct on the build there. It was something with magic resist just so Copy couldn't take him down. But again, Jenkins always taking that Hex Gate across the map, just splitting up their focus. FlyFam never felt comfortable in the fights because it was never a front to back. They always needed to be like, okay, well, Goo and Lunacia, they have to make space, so they have to split up their focus. And then it allowed Copy to just run rampant in those fights. And when Instinct doesn't have mana at the end, when Sword gets taken out too early, it's like, well, at that point, the Zeri doesn't have a lot to work with, even though you got those 4 items.
Yeah.
What a game.
Didn't have an enchanter, had no mana. Zeri relies on both those things so much in order to be effective in some of these fights. So congratulations to CLG Challengers. It was a situation where they were not supposed to win this game, but Kevy comes up big yet again. Copy and Jenkins tag teaming and having such a big impact on the fight. Both of them are so good at finding all of these angles, and it's what allows them to actually take game 1 in a fashion that no one was expecting.
I think XU might have some competition this split for who's going to get the most objective steals, and I know that Rafa's going to have a lot of choice words about that opinion, but early on, it seems like Kevy's leading the charge right there as I hear Rafa laughing in my ear right now. But hey, it's only game 1. We do have another one coming up after this in FlyFam. This was a much better look for them today than we saw yesterday. You'll love to see the building blocks come together even this early in the season. With that said, though, we're going to send it to a very short break before we bring Rafa back for a halftime show before we get ready for game number 2 right after this.